Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. And we got one of those episodes today that are going to make you think for sure and possibly, hopefully, make you open your eyes to different ways to grow your business. We're talking about website analytics. Don't fall asleep on me yet. No, this is going to be interesting, I promise. We're talking about website analytics, what to look for, why to care, and how they can help you actually grow your business. So we're going to dive in. I have an amazing guest with me, and I'm not qualified to do this alone. So please let me introduce her and bring her on here. Philippa Games, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Hey, Brandon, great to be with you.
I'm excited to unpack this. I joke that I'm not qualified for this. I'm really not. I don't know anything about website analytics or even creating websites. It's not my zone of genius, if you will. So I want to understand from your perspective. I do know how powerful this can be, but what are the types of things that we're talking about when you say website analytics? Like let's just lay the foundation for someone who's maybe never even looked at their website analytics.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are various tools. The best known one is Google Analytics. But what we're talking about is tools that you can attach to your website so that you can find out, yes, how many visitors you get and so on, but more to the point, what do those visitors do? Where do they go? What do they engage with? Because what it tells you is what's going on with your website. You know, what's working, what's not working, where are there potential areas where you could do better with the goals that you have, and where are some areas where you might be pouring money away on stuff that doesn't work.
That to me sounds fun. So I think everybody knows probably how to find out how many people are coming to their website. Beyond that, at least to me, it's all a mystery. If you've done this kind of work, then I'm sure you're more experienced. But I want to start to discover what's really important and who it's important for. So you said there's a number of different tools and software programs you can attach to your website. We're going to leave that as a cliffhanger. We're going to get there. We're going to share the tools, but before we use tools, we need to know why we're using them. So you said it paints a story, or it tells a story about what people are doing on a website. Every business is unique. Every website is unique. What are some of the stories that you look for websites to tell to know that it's actually an effective website at converting visitors?
Well, I mean, so every website, the point is whatever the business owners want people to do. So the first thing for every business owner is to be real clear about that. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but sometimes, honestly, they're not. But, you know, is your website about getting people to buy stuff? And is it about getting people to sign up for something? Right? Are there videos that you really want them to watch? I mean, it's important to really understand what you want to be going on. You know, do you have a free trial or like my ebook that you want them to download? Okay, so you can hone in on those calls to action to see if they're doing what you want them to do. But equally, most people, if you're selling something, right, for example, most people don't come to the website and immediately buy something. So before they buy something, then you want to sort of create some sort of relationship, and that's potentially around your content. So they may be looking at, you know, what does this business have? Do I trust them? That's a hugely important question. You know, do I believe that they can do what they say they do? And in order to do that, they're going to be looking at your content, for example, your videos, your podcasts, and you can also see how do they engage with your content. Do they actually, you can tell things like if you have a video, for example, do they watch all the video? Do they barely watch the video? A lot of people drop off a video if it doesn't interest them. So just seeing, like, you know, if you click on YouTube and you can see the number of views that a video's had, but that tells you how many people started to play it. It doesn't tell you more than that. So that could be hugely different from how many people actually watched it all the way through. So these are the kinds of things that you can tell. And obviously that information can help you to improve your site, improve your outcomes.
Yeah, that makes complete sense too, and it's one of those things that I honestly I never thought to even consider that you would want to know when people drop off, where they drop off the page, because that obviously affects your copy, your message. If you have videos, it affects what's on the page.
Mhm.
Um, but what I'm also thinking too, is you were talking about all of that, how do you kind of pick between a website that's maybe more of a landing page, where it's like there is one thing you have to take action on, this one thing, versus a more traditional website where there's, tabs, drop downs, there's dozens if not hundreds of different pages you can go to. How do you negotiate with yourself as the business owner, like which way to go?
So, one of the things that I say a lot is, this stuff can be overwhelming. I mean, if you log into something like Google Analytics, there's pages, and I mean, well, there's something like over 100 default report. I mean, it's crazy. There's just so much data, you can go nuts. So you can't possibly measure everything. Um, the point of looking at the analytics is to know what you want to know. So as I said, you focus on one area at a time. So rather than trying to analyze your entire website, you might say, what's my most important conversion, right? Or what's the most important products that we want to sell now? What's going on? What are we focused on? Because the point of measuring stuff, the point of tracking stuff, is what are you going to do about it? You don't want to know this just for the sake of knowing it. You want to know it because you want to take action if action's needed. Um, so that means honing in on what are the I don't know, top 3 to 5 things that we would want to know right now, and not trying to do it all at once, because you can't if you make changes and you're changing 15 things at a time, you can't know which particular change had an effect, right? So it's a question of focus and priority based on what you want to be happening.
Yeah, that's a good tip, and we see this a lot in the normal business operations world. People just measure things to measure them, and then
Right.
when we ask why, it's always, well, I don't know. Someone told me it was an important metric.
Right. And, for example, we have these things we call vanity metrics, which,
Yeah.
people, as you said, glaze over. And so it's nice to be able to log into the website and go, did I have more visitors than I did last week? If the answer is yes, you go, great, I must be doing it right. And then you can go away and do something more interesting. But the point is, did those visitors actually, as I keep saying, do what you wanted them to do? Because otherwise they're no use to you.
Yeah.
So without having figured out what are my deeper questions, because the thing is, if they hadn't done what you want them to do, then there's all sorts of reasons that could be for that. Like you could be attracting the wrong sort of visitor. That's a start. You could be providing the wrong content, or your content isn't engaging, or for some reason, like I said earlier, they don't trust you, because trust is a huge thing online, because they don't really know who you are if they've never met you before.
Mm.
So are you creating credibility? So there's lots of different questions that you can ask once you identify where there might be a problem. So it's really, that's what I'm saying. It's important to know what you want to be happening so you can hone in on starting to ask the questions about what if it's not.
Yeah,
And being
that's
able to sort of drill down and distinguish between different types of visitors. I mean, one thing I should say is I get an awful lot of questions about social media and advertising on social media. And I'm right now I'm working with a client who said, I've got a really high bounce rate on my site. It was like 80% or something. And I want to know what to do about it, because that's terrible. That's all the people who leave immediately. But if you don't treat all the visitors as kind of one mass, and if you drill into it, so I could show him, look, there's a huge difference between the people who are coming from your social media advertising campaigns, who are leaving pretty quickly, and your search engine traffic from your SEO, where people are proactively searching for what you sell. So that means they're actually interested in what you sell, and those people are hanging around and doing stuff. So it's not that your bounce rate is hugely high across the board. It's that you've got a problem with your social media ads. And it
mm,
would be much more worthwhile to maybe pause spending as much money as you are while you figure out, are the ads badly targeted? Are they on the wrong platform? There's all sorts of reasons, but you want to know exactly where your problem is and not just assume that it's across the board, because that's often not the case.
yeah. I'm curious how you would go into solving that type of an issue, because um, right off the bat, my first question would be, are what those people are searching for who are sticking around, is that a different message or a different problem being solved when they get on the page? Like that's in line with what they're searching for versus whatever the ads are saying is incongruent with what's on the landing page. How do you go about solving that problem ultimately?
Yeah. So, I mean, that may well be the problem, be the issue. Well, first of all, remember there is a huge difference between people who come from an ad and people who come from a search.
Hmm.
Because people who come from a search, like I say, are proactively looking for something. People who come from an ad may have just seen something and thought, oh, that looks interesting, I'll click on it. Maybe they, 5 seconds before that, they weren't even thinking about the sort of stuff you have. Right. So their mindset is very different. And so, yes, you've got to have a landing page that matches what you're setting up. But, for example, if you're selling professional services, maybe Facebook or TikTok isn't necessarily the right venue for you to be advertising on. Maybe you should be on LinkedIn. So, it's also a question of looking at, are the people that I'm attracting the right kind of people? Because all these different platforms have different demographics, different ways that people use them, different mindsets that people might have, right? So you've got to think about that.
Yeah, and I'm even curious too because I've heard this from a number of different people who run ads and have a similar problem. Their SEO or referral business converts very highly, but then when they run ads or they come from social, there's a huge drop off. Would that be a scenario where you would create an entirely different page to send them to, just because you kind of lower the bar, if you will, of what their expectations are?
Well, I mean, you have to remember that with SEO, you can't always control which page they end up on,
Right.
because Google kind of decides, so
Hmm.
that's why you have to be quite careful with how you structure your SEO, but that's another conversation. But with the ads, um, you also need to think about, if I'm going to get this person's attention span for a very short time, what's the best thing I can do? Are there things that I can do to maybe grab them and at least get them to give me an email address? Like, is there an ebook I can offer them, or is there a free offer, or is there a free trial, or something that's very low risk? How do I potentially get them to come back? Getting their email address is still amazingly one of the best things you can do. It's fantastic. I mean, for at least 15 years now, people have been saying that email is dead. I'm pretty sure there was a Wired magazine cover back in the late 2000s that said, email is dead. Nobody uses it anymore. And it's just not true, right? It's amazing to me. But even now, if you look at the survey results from when people say to marketers, what's your most successful marketing channel? They'll still say email as one of the top channels, even though it's, everybody goes, oh, email is boring. So if you have a good reason to get a way to get somebody's email address right there, it's worth doing. So with the social media people, if you think about, is there a way that am I targeting right? But B, is there a way that I can grab them that doesn't cost them anything, that's low risk, or that offers them value, so that I can get back to them and then, see if I can engage them more.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it sounds like either way, you have to begin with the end in mind. You have to know what you want out of whatever channel you're using, just like you said in the beginning. So, um, I guess we can't stress that enough, right? Like start
Right.
there and know where you want people to go before you lead
Yeah.
them there.
And the thing
But
is, if you really want to get into it, you can make your life a whole lot easier by actually setting yourself up for analytic success. So, for example, with advertising on social media, every link, or even with organic posting on social media that you're not paying for, every link that you make, you can. I'm going to get slightly techie here. I promise we wouldn't get techie, but just to very quickly mention, you can add to those links. You can get whoever's doing your marketing to do it, some parameters, some additional information that identifies exactly what campaign that ad pertains to. So this is our April newsletter, this is our spring promotion, this is whatever. So that not only can you track people coming from different social media platforms, but you can identify the specific ad and the specific campaign and the specific message that they're responding to, so that you can drill down even further by doing that kind of analysis, because different campaigns will have different levels of success. But in order to make that work, you do have to set that up. So at some point, if you want to get serious about this, it's actually worth thinking about this, getting your data clean so that you can have really, really good results.
Yeah, that's a rabbit hole we don't have
Yeah.
time for, but very
No,
valuable information to have and have access to.
no, but I think that what I wanted just to give your listeners is this is amazingly valuable stuff, and it's not like you just log in your tool and it's going to come up with all the answers. So yeah, it's realistic expectation setting here.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I put your website on the screen here. Excuse me, not your website. It's a
Yeah,
link to your ebook,
perfect.
websitesthatwin.com/ebook. It's also wherever you're watching or listening. It's in the show notes down below. You can go check it out. If you want to kind of dive into this a little deeper, but I'm curious, we teased tools in the beginning and I want to deliver on that promise. So Google Analytics, I think even if you live under a rock, you've heard of that at least. Whether you use it or not, it's a different story. But what are some of these other tools that we can start to maybe attach to our website and get a little bit more data so that at least if, let's say, we were to approach you, we're not starting from scratch. Like, we have a little bit of knowledge of what our customers and our website visitors are doing, and maybe we can even start to communicate with people in a better way. What do you have for tools?
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of different tools. You can get tools that tell you about like a heat map tool, right? That tells you where on the page people go and what they look at. Obviously, email marketing, if you're doing that, there are all sorts of that comes with analytics. So you can see things like who opens the email and that kind of response. You can get social media. I mean, there's lots and lots of different ways to put this together. And by the way, can we just let people know that this ebook that you very kindly put on the screen it's 5 stories of ways that things that people have, decisions that people have made that have changed their businesses or changed their websites. It's real life stories in English without charts and graphs and anything boring. But from my client experience, different kinds of businesses and industries where something in the analytics has sparked a whole new product or service or a whole new way of doing an aspect of the business or a different audience, just to sort of inspire people that, hey, you can get some really cool stuff out of this.
Yeah, it's tough to dive in because, I mean, we've said this before, you've said it too. Every business is unique, every website is unique. It's hard to ask those specific questions of, what are the 3 things to look for? Well, it depends. It
Yeah,
depends on
it
your business,
depends.
depends on where
Yeah.
you're seeing your customers. But
Right.
I love that you have 5 real life stories in the book without the techie terms, so people like me can understand it. I appreciate that. And yeah, for wherever you're watching and listening, go check it out. Maybe it'll spark something. It'll spark an idea for your website and your business to convert more clients, attract more clients, whatever that may be. However you're using your website, let's use the analytics to grow. Like we talked about in the beginning of the episode, that's the whole growth, or that's the whole point of doing this. So Philippa, I appreciate you coming on and helping us understand analytics in terms of how we're going to grow our business and grow our website. But I'm curious, I want to leave the listener with a question. We love to end the episodes with a powerful question because they get powerful answers. In terms of analytics, your website, growing your business, everything we talked about today, what is a question that you would love the listener to just think about so that they can maybe get on that track of thinking about their website in a different way so they can grow their business?
Yeah, my favorite client question, like I said, that means that I know that we're going to have fun, is tell me what I need to know to run my business better. So if you think about your website, you think about your digital marketing, what is it that I would really benefit from knowing about that would make this thing make more money, waste less money, grow, etc.
I love it. I bet there's 5 ideas that they could find in this ebook that we mentioned
Hopefully. Yeah.
as a start, right?
Right.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
For those of you watching, listening, wherever you are, we appreciate you tuning in. I hope this helps. I hope we clarified what it means to understand your analytics just a little bit. And you can always take that next step and download the ebook, of course. We want to see you back on the next episode of Harmonious at lunch, 5 days a week. Make sure you subscribe. We'll see you here tomorrow.